Hello YouTube, and welcome back to the second part of our series on 3D. In a previous episode, we looked at some of the ways in which we can actually perceive 3D. We also looked at some of the ways in which modern displays actually display 3D within a single plane, that is that of the display. Today, we move beyond the boring technical details and we go into looking at actually making our own 3D images. It is the 7th of February 2013, a Thursday. You're watching 0612 TV. This is 0612 TV.
Welcome aboard.
Once again, hello and welcome to episode 2 of Understanding 3D. Now, I'm not going to talk as much as I did last episode because I feel I talked a little too much. At least when I was editing it was terrible. But anyway, we're going to jump right into taking a 3D photo. Remember that to correctly represent 3D, you're going to need two images. So here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to find the subject that we want to take a photo of. Then, we're going to center our camera against the subject. First, push it a little bit left and take a photo. Then, push it a little bit right and take another photo. What we have now are two pictures at slightly offset perspectives. And basically with that, we've actually collected our left and right images. Back at my computer, I'm going to open up these two images and lay them side by side. By the way, as mentioned in the previous video, I'm not very good at parallel-eyed viewing, which is why all the 3D composites you're going to see here are actually designed for cross-eyed viewing. Bearing in mind what that means is that you're going to actually have to invert the left and right images, because of course, when you cross your eyes, your right eye looks at the image on the left, your left eye looks at the image on the right. Now, just by laying these two images side by side, if you actually cross your eyes now and try to look at these two images, well, you see the 3D effect. And yeah, basically taking 3D pictures is that easy. If you're interested in doing just that, here are some tips. First, when you actually move your camera, don't revolve it around the subject. Instead, slide your camera left to right along a line. The line of sight, so to speak, for each picture should be parallel, and that produces the best 3D effect. Of course, you need to try to keep the lighting between the two images the same, and you definitely don't want anything to move other than the camera. Essentially what we're doing is we're actually tricking the user into thinking that there are two cameras taking an image at the same time, but of course since we're only using one camera, this is the next best option. By keeping everything still, you can pull off the effect. So you may be wondering, what if I have two cameras? This is when we can talk about video. If you actually want to shoot 3D video, you're gonna need two cameras. And not just any two cameras, but preferably two of the exact same camera. If I have two mismatching cameras, the first and greatest problem is that their field of view is probably kinda different. If you have a slightly zoomed in image for the left eye and a slightly zoomed out image for the right eye, they're not gonna overlap properly when you cross your eyes. That, of course, ruins the effect. A number of other factors also come into play, even though they are more subtle. For example, one camera may have a slightly different color cast compared to the other camera. So of course, when you merge them, the difference is a bit jarring. The same can be said for image noise as well. So to make life easy, most of the time people actually recommend you use two of the same cameras. Make sure they are zoomed the same amount. The easiest way will be to zoom all the way out. You're gonna have to hold the two cameras side by side. It will be easier if you actually have a rig or something like that. But if you don't, you've just gotta try to keep your hands steady. It is also preferable to actually hold the two cameras horizontally as much as possible. So you don't want to tilt either camera. And more importantly, if you actually tilt the setup, make sure that the two cameras don't tilt in different ways. This means of course that if the left image is tilted left and the right image is tilted right, the illusion is broken. Unfortunately, I do not have two of the same cameras, which is why I can't really show you what 3D video looks like. But hey, I'm sure you get the idea. Now, here's what I can do. It might not really be possible to actually shoot 3D video using two cameras for the very simple reason that I don't have two of the same camera. But what I can do is fake it. This brings us to the second part of the video, and the question is, if I only have one source, is it possible to actually create a 3D effect from just that one source? The answer is of course yes. And in fact, some 3D movies out there that were shot with a single camera were actually done like this. But I'm not going to talk about video first. Instead, we're going to try and actually fake the 3D effect using a single image. We can then eventually apply the same concepts to video if you are so interested. Now, this isn't so much of a step-by-step tutorial because much of this is actually based on, what you can actually see, but hopefully I can at least guide you along. Take a photo and plop it into the image editor of your choice. Duplicate the image and lay it side by side with the first. If you cross your eyes right now, these two images are going to fit together perfectly. Since it is essentially the same picture, there are no differences whatsoever, it's going to appear perfectly flat. What we're going to want to do is to actually introduce some differences between each picture. First, identify the parts that you want to pop out or you want to push in. Now we're going to work only on one of the two images. In this case, I'm going to work on the right side image. The left side image is going to be the perfect original picture. So I'm breaking out the lasso tool and I'm going to begin selecting various parts of the image. So what I've done now is I've actually cut out some parts of the image that I want to emphasize. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cross my eyes. For the parts that I've picked out, I'm going to actually use the move tool to sort of push it to the left or to the right a little. Because my eyes are crossed, I'll be able to see what kind of effect this creates. In general, you don't have to move things by a huge distance. A small distance is enough to create the subtle difference that creates a 3D effect. The rest is really experimentation. By keeping your eyes crossed, you can then tweak certain parts of the image to make them pop out or be recessed. And the final result looks something like this. If you're having a hard time making things look realistic, feel free to turn up the feathering on your lasso tool. Feathering is of course useful in many situations because it eases the border. The transitions won't feel so hard, and in the case of this, it will actually help you to blend in the borders where you've actually moved stuff. So of course the differences don't look so jarring. Remember that while you're doing this, try to keep your eyes crossed as much as you can, so you will continuously be able to monitor the 3D effect. Remember to keep it subtle. Most of the time you don't really need things that jump out at you. And of course, if you move things too much, you're gonna have to start filling in the background where things go missing. Now, can we do this for video? Well, yes, we can. Of course, it's not gonna be anywhere as easy. You're gonna need an advanced video editor like perhaps Adobe After Effects. But the way you create the effect is conceptually similar, in the sense that you are gonna have to mask out the various portions, bias them a little, either to the left or to the right, and that will then create the effect that you're looking for. And that basically sums it up for this episode of Understanding 3D. If you have any comments, queries or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below. If you like this video or found it helpful, I appreciate every like, favorite and subscription you give me. Of course, don't forget to check out the official Twitter account for this channel, and that can be found at twitter.com/0612tv. Well, that's all I have for you today. Until next time, you're watching 0612TV.